Hello, and welcome to a session of Centennial College at the library. Today, we'll take research out on a limb and hope it doesn't break off. Our session today will focus on the library's collections using an in-depth look. If you're just joining us, you can find us at library.centennialcollege.ca, your new virtual home. Accessing the library's collections from a distance is easy. Simply use your MyCentennial login credentials. As we get started, I'd like to draw your attention to a point on the library's homepage where you can derive extra help. The extra help is just a click away using our Ask On chat service. This dialog box allows you to get in touch with library staff in a cooperative way who are working across the province to help answer your research questions. Here's an example. Can you believe what I'm typing? Yes, you can ask almost anything. Let's explore this service on a screenshot. Here is a sample question. Dear library guy, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck woodchuck would? I dare you to ask that question. If you do, please let me know how it goes. Anyways, this is a free service available during the day and evenings, and it's worth having a look. Now, let's carry on to the library's online resources. Here are two typical screen captures of interfaces you will encounter. Let's imagine for a minute if the interface began speaking with you. Let's imagine if it started asking things like, is the learning online experience not as cool as you thought it would be? Or things like, are you stressed? Are you having a bad day? Can I get that article for you? Imagine a machine interface that really cared, that empathized, and was willing and ready to help you out. However, research is not quite like that. Let's find out what it's really like. To do so, we'll go to the library's homepage. Here, we'll take the quick way into our online collections. We'll select e-resources. As the machine churns up a search box, we'll wait patiently. At this point, you see an alphabetical list where there's an ease of access into our collections, followed by a search box and some other things below. Sometimes students get carried away when they see a search box and they start typing immediately. Please, I need help. Click and go, crossing their fingers in the hopes that something magical will happen. When it doesn't, they become discouraged and go back to Mr. G. In other words, Google. What we'll do now is we'll use the search box as it was intended, simply to find a collection rather than answer life's problems. Once we enter a collection, we click and go and log in with your MyCentennial credentials. This will only take a moment. Now that we're inside, things look very familiar. They look like Mr. G. They look like your standard search box on Google. Of course, there are differences, which you may soon discover. Let's start with a title search. Here we typed in the beginning of a title. Leading across cultures requires flexibility. We'll select title to give the database a heads up, to tell it that we want to look not just anywhere, but in the title field of all the article records in the collection. We'll search and go. As you can see, we just entered a partial title. The full title is here. Leading across cultures requires flexibility and curiosity. I imagine it requires other things, but perhaps that's for another article. One thing that separates Google or Mr. G from the library's collections is this screen we're looking at now. In the library's collections, not only do you have access to the actual article, you also have access to information about the article. This is a very useful efficiency measure that can improve your research. As an illustration, let's imagine you discover articles, in this case, that are 3 pages, or other articles that are 10, 20, 30 pages. Wouldn't it be nice if you had a heads up about what the article is actually trying to say? Therefore, in this information screen about the article, you have access to an abstract or a summary that does just that. Here you can sift through articles that really make sense for your own research without using up valuable time by beginning to read each entry. You also have access to these things, subject terms. Subject terms are wonderful words and phrases, carefully crafted, put together in interesting ways, that draw in and gather together other articles, other reports on the theme of the subject. In other words, if you're looking for cross-cultural communication, you can select the subject heading and it'll draw in articles that really and truly have something to say about cross-cultural communication. Another useful tool of this information screen is the fact that it brings together all of the citation information you need to add to your reference list. And when the time comes, you can use the citation feature, the citation link, to transform the information into an APA entry. We'll select Cite and watch the magic happen. If you're not a fan of APA, you have other possibilities, including MLA. Of course, you can take this APA entry and add it to your own work. Of course, a database would not be complete unless it had the actual article, which we find in this PDF. What we are looking at is the full text and full image format of the article as it appears in the print publication. If we look carefully at this opening screen, what could possibly be the most important, the most interesting, the most eye-catching feature from you, the student perspective? Is it the title in very large font, the author whom we know very little about, or is it this fascinating rock climbing wall that you can cut out and frame for your bedroom? I like to think it's the rock climbing wall, but of course, instead, it's the source of this article, Harvard Business Review. As you can see, the Centennial College Library collections are about drawing together useful, important, relevant, and meaningful sources of information, unlike Google, which is a melting pot or a pile of things. With this article, you can do many things. You could print it, you could download it, you can save it, you can even email it to yourself. Let's imagine you found a few things, but you're going out. You can always email the article to yourself and have a look at it later. As you're sifting through the article, sometimes the author will reference another article within the pages that we're looking through. This is one way or another way of obtaining sources for your own work. Usually when an author references another article, it's on a similar topic or it's related to the article in question, which may be useful for your own needs. If we scroll down, you'll notice something else. You'll notice an author note. In the case of an author note, sometimes there's mention of other publications the author has written. Let's read this one. Deborah Rowland has led change in major global organizations. As well, she is the co-author of Sustaining Change, Leadership That Works, and the author of a book called Still Moving. With this information, we can search in other parts of the library to see if we can get our hands on these resources. Let's do that. Let's go back to the library's homepage and see what we can do. Will take us back to the library's homepage, and we'll open the library catalog. With this section of the library catalog, we can try to find out if we have access to Deborah's books. We'll try this, Rowland and Still Moving, combination keyword title search. As it turns out, we're in luck. We have a copy of the print book and a copy of the online book. Let's have a look at the print first. In the age of the pandemic, perhaps you're asking yourself, why should I bother looking at the print resource? The library is closed anyways, isn't it? Indeed, the library is closed at Centennial College. However, just recently, in the last couple of days, we've started a grab-and-go service. Yes, that's right. You can use our grab-and-go service to pick up print materials from our libraries. If you're interested, have a look at the FAQ page. It starts by placing a hold on a particular item you're interested in, and it ends with you getting a message from the library describing how you should proceed. However, as you can see, we also have access to an online edition of this book. Let's open it now. In this edition, you have a couple of options: reading online or downloading. Let's read online for a few minutes. Our online option allows you to do keyword or descriptive word searching within the pages of the book. Let's search on the word crisis. And in a blink of an eye, we get access to all the occurrences of our word within the body of the text. Let's turn to page 13. As you can see, our descriptive word is highlighted so that we can easily begin reading in context. We can read simply in this way. Put starkly, I believe people are increasingly fed up with how the world is being run, and we are facing a crisis of leadership. Once again, your descriptive words are highlighted to make it easy for you to quickly read in context. Now let's return to our original article. Leading across cultures requires flexibility and curiosity. And we'll return to the original information record. As I mentioned, this is one of the added features of the library's collection: subject terms. Subject terms, again, draw together articles and other information sources that relate to the meaning of each and every subject term. Let's have a look in cross-cultural communication. With 1,207 records, who knew there was so much to say? Let's open this first result. Across the Great Divides, gender dynamics influence how intercultural conflict helps or hurts creative collaboration. Why don't we jump to the actual article? And as we scroll down, we can see the blood, sweat, and tears of serious research poured into this particular article and made available to you through the library's collections. It's another good reason to separate Mr. G from the library. In this example, I want to head straight to the list of references. Here is another possibility, another way you can gather sources of information. You can data mine, as it were, the reference list. Here's an example. After we read the article, or as we are reading the article, we can skip down and see if there's anything else that catches our interest. How about this? Gender differences in responding to conflict in the workplace. What we'll do now is we'll take this title and see if we can find it elsewhere in the library's collections. We'll return to the library's homepage. Initially, I skipped over this search box and went straight to a particular database. What we're doing now is we're using the federated search feature. In other words, a way of searching multiple collections at the same time. Even though it doesn't search every collection at once, it still does a decent job. Now that we've entered the title, we click and go and discover that yes, indeed, we have access to this article. In this way, we've attached ourselves to another information source. We've migrated seamlessly across the collection to another database. Let's try something else. Again, returning to our original database, Business Source Complete. We'll search again. If you don't happen to have a title of an article, or an author, or even a subject heading, you can, of course, use your own keywords, your own descriptive words, to help find things of interest. Let's have a look at cultural diversity and see where it lands us in this particular collection. Surprisingly, or not surprisingly, we've landed at over 14,000 records. While this is not the equivalent to a Google search, it is, by comparison, better in the sense that we've taken a look through and discovered resources of better quality. However, 14,000 is a little bit too much to work with. Let's narrow that down. An easy way to narrow things down is to add other descriptive words. In this case, we'll combine the idea of cultural diversity with that of leadership and see where it takes us. As you can see, we've narrowed things down quite a bit with just over 1,300 entries. We can go further and take advantage of the library's advanced search features. After all, we are in college, so shouldn't we do that? Let's take our search and see if we can zero in on only those articles that have in-depth quality research behind them, that have gone through a peer review scholarly process. The list narrows further. Something I should have mentioned is how the order of articles appears. In the world of business, it's often relevant and useful to see things that are published most recently. So let's change the order of these 477 records to reflect things that are published most recently. And you can scroll down and see if anything catches your eye. Let's have a look at this one, number 14. Inclusive leadership and employees learning from errors, a moderated mediation model. Once again, you're confronted with the information screen about the article. However, it appears that we've hit a snag. There is no article attached to the information screen. Fortunately, the library has created a workaround. In many ways, our different collections and databases are connected. And so by using this program, the Search for Article feature, we are not simply zipping out into the internet. Rather, we are having a look through our other collections to see if this article is available. And indeed it is. Once again, we've seamlessly changed directions and headed to another database. You can, if you want, download the PDF of this article, Inclusive Leadership and Employees Learning from Errors. Let's take a moment and change directions again. We'll head back once again to the library's homepage, and we'll explore another feature. So far, we've looked through the library's e-resource tab. We've had a look into the library catalog, and now we're going to scroll down and see what this full text journals tab is all about. This resource is another point of connection for our library collections. What it does, it brings together all of our full text journals and magazines and does two things. First, it tells us if we have access to a particular publication, and second, it tells us where we can find that publication if we have it. So let's have a look for the MIT Sloan Management Review. I'm sure you've heard of MIT, another mark of quality that the library has gathered together for you, the student. And sure enough, we have access to this publication in several places. If you want, we can begin searching right away, or we can branch out and have a look at this collection that seems to have considerable coverage. So we'll switch gears and have a look in Research Library. With this service, you have two options. You can browse within this single publication, or you can search within the complete holdings that are available in our collections. You can keyword or descriptive word search using such things as offshoring. And now with this search, we'll see what the Sloan Management Review has to say about offshoring. Apparently, it has 28 things to say. We'll briefly take a look at this one, offshoring without guilt. In the world of business, isn't it useful to find something that you can do without guilt? Anyways, that's what the full text journalist can do for you. Let's take a second to review. In looking at leading across cultures, we discovered that we have access to the article record, access to citation information, subject terms, and an abstract. We also discovered that within a particular article, the author or authors may mention other articles that we can try to find in our collection. And they may draw attention to their own work that we can find in our collection, in this case, through the library catalog. And here we are here, having taken advantage of the full text journalist program to have a look in the MIT Sloan Management Review and do keyword or descriptive word searching for offshoring. Let's carry on. For this next part, let's return to our Business Source Complete database. And we'll begin again. We'll begin this way. We'll look for resources on bottled water. Why are we doing this, you might ask? Well, sometimes students are interested in gathering together numerical information or statistics on a particular subject. In this segment, we'll explore ways to do just that. A search on bottled water, believe it or not, produces over 27,000 articles and other reports. Who knew there was so much to say about water in a bottle? With respect to gathering together numerical information, let's try this. We'll return to the advanced search features. As you can imagine, the articles in our collection sometimes contain color photographs, graphs, maps, charts, diagrams, illustrations, and so forth. One of the best ways to present statistics or numerical data is to put them in a chart. So why don't we say to the database, "Dear database, please only return results about bottled water that also include a chart." And here we go. You can scroll through and see what will be useful to you. How about this? Bottled water bubbles over with growth. We'll go straight to the PDF. In this case, there's not simply one chart. There's two. I've reproduced the chart on this screen. Of course, the text helps us make sense of the chart, and vice versa. Here we can read, "The healthy hydration bandwagon. Market research analysts note that innovation will continue to be at the forefront of sales for the bottled water and enhanced water category." Indeed, this is how we can make sense of the text and the chart working together. Something else you might be interested in. We'll start again and try something. Sometimes students want to get at an issue quickly. They may not have time to read 10, 20, or even 25 pages. Here's something you can do. I call it short article searching, something that perhaps you won't want to mention to your professor. And here's the important advanced feature we can work with: number of pages. This feature allows you to enter a page range or a maximum number of pages that you want to have to read in a particular article. While it's tempting to enter things like this, let's make it a little more realistic. We'll command the database now to return only articles with 2 to 5 pages. And sometimes it's good to go back to the relevance feature. Let's have a look at this one. How do we fix our leadership crisis in 5 pages or less? If we go straight to the full text, you'll notice a couple of things. You'll notice that the first page and the second page are taken up by pictures. In the world of the student, of course, this means less reading. Let's pat ourselves on the back for that one. Furthermore, in order to learn something about a subject quickly, we always like to break things up, including this tagline here. The leadership pipeline has sprung a leak, obviously. Now the article will offer 5 quick ways to reverse the trend. And you can read quickly and efficiently as to what those 5 ways might be. So this is my window into short article searching. In other words, a quick way, an efficient way to learn something about a subject. As we draw to a close, that's all I wanted to say on this particular topic. If you have questions or comments, you can reach me at my email address, rsims@centennialcollege.ca. Thank you for tuning in, and best of luck.